Okay, I think we have a couple of people already on our session this afternoon. So let's just go straight right into it. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another amazing session. My name is Favor Orok, and I'll be moderating today's conversation again. Now, let me start with this before coming live. We did a little unofficial survey about today's topic, and we have a couple of questions that we're going to be asking concerning today's topic. Okay, don't get so agitated about what we want to be talking about this afternoon because I'm going to be bringing it right in. So we have people who talk about from their uncles' houses to what landlord is showing them to mosquito growing out of the walls in the houses. So today we're not just talking about theory. We're going to be going into the practical aspect of building, as in we're going to be answering real questions from real people who have seen it, experienced it, and they are trying to avoid premium fears. So, and of course, I'm not going to be doing this alone. I have with me the managing director of Realistic Properties Limited, Mr. Adebayo Giwa, is the person with me on the live session this afternoon. So, we are going to be talking about common construction mistakes that cost millions. If you ask me, from my because your life, because your life is even what's the word? Your life is does not have a price tag. So it might not even cost you millions, it might cost you your life, it might cost you your sanity. Because tell me why I am moving into an apartment and I have to be carrying the door up, or tomorrow the window is shaking, small breeze like this, everywhere is in with me. So these are some of the things that we're going to be unpacking and unraveling this afternoon on the live session. And welcome with me, Mr. Adebayo Giwa, on the live session to give us first a brief introduction of what are some of the things we need to look out for when we are looking at common mistakes, common construction mistakes.
Okay, thank you for having me, and thanks for everyone on the live session. About construction is assembly of items, many building items, and when you have different items in the of 20 to that you want to assemble together, so it means if you are not well prepared, a lot of things can go wrong in it, joining them together.
So let me also ask, from your experience, what would you say construction mistake come from? Is it lack of knowledge, or people are just trying to cut corners? You know, there are a lot of people that they want to not use all their money because someone is selling like wood for 20 naira, then another person is selling at 2 naira 50 kobo, and they know that the one selling at 2 naira 50 kobo it's not even a very good material. So what do you think? Is it lack of knowledge or people are just trying to like cut corners or is it collabo? Let's hear this point.
Yeah, in some cases, it's lack of knowledge, and in some cases, people trying to, reduce their cost. And you don't know all. For example, now I'm not a doctor. I cannot see a doctor for what I need, and I say this hospital is too expensive. I'm going to a cheaper one, and they end up doing what is okay. That is a perfect example for it. So some people, they are willing to pay, but they end up to the hand of somebody that is not a professional, somebody um, that is not capable to do what they need to do for their construction project. While in some cases, in the absence of, is the presence of people trying to use people that are not professionals, people maybe trying to use experienced artisan. There are some clients that will feel like, okay, I know an artisan that I've been building for 20, 30 years, and it's okay for me. Meanwhile, they end up in issues. So, some other people, they say they want to build by themselves. You are not a building professional. You are not a building professional. You want to build yourself with your artisans. You will end up having issues because there is a lot of things around it to make sure that you get, the results that you need without having error. Now, where does it really start from? It starts from your planning stage. you should start planning your projects with your professionals, with whoever is consulting for you, right? You should start your building project with guidance from the beginning, and you have to try to be open enough. Not that you are hiding, you don't want your consultant or your contractor or your engineer, your architects, you don't want them to know that you have so amount of money. It's okay if you don't want them to know whether they know that you have this amount of money or not. Let them know what you actually want. They will arrive to the estimates, to the cost of what you want. And from there, you will know if you can afford it or not. From there, you can say, okay, I want to reduce this from my features. I want to reduce this from my features. So it's better to know that than you now start and you start, not listening to them, or start adding up what you did not plan for initially. So, and making corrections, too much corrections during construction or after, towards the end of the project, cause a lot of issues. That's where most issues even start from, right? Now, from the design stage, you have to be open enough. From the costing stage, you have to be open enough to say, okay, this is the cost of this job, and can I afford it? If I cannot afford it, at what stage can I do it to? Right? So the people involved with you on the project will know that, okay, this is and this. Is not that we will now be going with the leader of the team. The leader of any project team is the client that is bringing the money, not being open enough to show, okay, these are the things I can afford, and this is how best we can do it for you.
So talking about budget thing, now that's going to lead you to our first survey question. Now this person is saying they were being open and then they spoke to their team, the project team, about what the project is about and how the construction should be like. Now it was giving a quotation of 20 million naira. But right now it's at 35 million naira and it's not looking like as if they will even reach window level. So where is the problem coming from? Is it that there is one ant somewhere? You know, there was one time that in Nigeria a snake entered the CBN boat and swallowed money. So we don't know if it is also the case in this one too. Maybe someone is swallowing the money, or maybe the way things are increasing in the markets right now. Is it the one that is making things fluctuate, the whole budget pricing? Is that why it is fluctuating? Or something is swallowing the money?
Okay, from the angle that you said now, I'll pick it from there. That is why it's good that you make sure that whoever is handling your projects have are the right team that can do what they should do. They should not underestimate for you, right? So if a job is scheduled to be 100 million and you have spent 100 million and you have not gotten to like 50% of the job, it means that whoever handles the bill of quantities or the estimate for you, your contractor or whoever, have made some errors there. So that is why you need to know who am I dealing with, right? Do your checks about, okay, this company or this person that I want to give my project, does this person understand, aside the design, does this person understand what estimation is, what bill of quantities is, to make sure that, okay, it's not that you tell me 100 million and when we get to spending 100 million, we still need 50 or another 100 million to complete the job. And that can also lead to cutting corners that will not lead to construction mistakes. Because if they are getting towards 100 million and the project have not even gotten to that stage that is supposed to get to, they want to reduce cost on what they are spending, and from there, cutting corner where we are just supposed to use a particular mixing ratio, we are not using up to that. Where they are supposed to use the quality of wood, maybe for the door, they are not using up to that, right? And that is going to affect the durability of the building. All right. So this aspect that you just mentioned actually boil down to using a reputable company to handle your project.
Yeah, choosing a reputable company. And I think that's where Realistic Properties Limited comes in.
Realistic
Yes,
projects.
of course. So, still on that same unofficial survey question. Now, there's another one here that is very, very, very captivating for me. It said the idea of using cheaper alternatives. Now, at some point, they've been able to like use because at the end of the day, they are able to like get a solid building that is going to last them for 5 years. So, if someone is going for cheaper alternative, should they also have it at the back of their mind that after 5 years they have to renovate, or should they just forget about it? If after 5 years the building is still standing strong, they can just leave it that way. And I think this is coming from a contractor's angle. And there are sometimes that they use cheaper alternatives and then it works very well for them. But I think most of the times, one of the major and underlying factors that lead to houses collapsing has to do with the fact that people are using substandard products and cheaper alternatives. So, what do you have to say to someone like this?
Okay, in terms of going for cheaper alternative, there are explanations around that because um, there is a regulation, right, that guides everybody on what they build. The fact that you own your money and you are building for your building, right, or your business or anything, doesn't mean you can build anyhow. There is even a regulation. An example is that because you gave birth to your child, does not mean the child does not have his or her own right of some things. Because you are the owner of your child, doesn't mean you can maltreat too much on the child, doesn't mean you can kill the child yourself, right? So now, when you are building, the structural aspects of the building, the main structural aspect of the building, like the foundation, like the columns, beams, the slabs, and all that, the walls, there is nothing like cheaper alternative on that. You have to build the standard because if there's a structural effect on the building, you and the contractor or the professionals involved on that project will bear the consequences, right? Will be responsible for it to the government. Now, where you can now talk about cheaper alternative is when you are talking about the finishes. Yes. The structural aspect of the building, nothing like cheaper alternative. You have to build to standard. Now, going to finishes, right?
Yeah.
You can say, okay, for this door, instead of going for a single door that costs 200,000, I'll be going for the one that costs 100,000. So you can now know that, okay, if the door that is costing 200,000 will last for 15 or 20 years, the one that is 100 might last me for only 5 years. So that one you can change it with, you can do that one and decide. You already have it at the back of your mind. Now, in terms of renovation, as there is a term or a number of years that building should use, a well-built building should use, there are also intervals of renovation that is allowable. For example, you can't complete a project now and it's now due for full renovation in the next 3 years, then something is wrong. If you start treating a building of 3 years, 5 years, it means even the proper durability cannot work. What can be done like annually on a building that we can count as maybe there are services? Yes, something like mechanical, electrical, that one can be a routine, this thing can be a routine services or maintenance, not the building renovation. Before you can talk of, okay, reviewing a building for renovation, you should be at average of 10 years interval, right? 10 years interval, yes. So what can you now say you are going for cheaper alternatives? To go back to your question again, when you are talking about the finishes, when you are talking about the interior, yes, you can decide the quality of paint you want to use, you can decide the quality of tiles you want to use and all that. But the main structural aspect of the building, you don't compromise. You build the best standard. Yeah.
So now let's go into your experience. I remember that from the last session that we had last Saturday, you mentioned that you've done over 30 plus projects, over 30
Yeah.
projects. So now from your own experience, what are some of the mistakes, or let's say from your early days, I'm sure you also made some mistakes that you're okay, I would have done better. So are there some practical mistakes that you can walk us through and how you eventually overcame them, how you rewrote the story again. So just give us some of those practical things that you know that oh, this was a mistake on my part and this was how I was able to fix it.
Okay, I would say that I've not experienced a gross um, mistakes before. Why? Because um, I went through the training, right, in school, and I went through the training through mentorship and working with companies, working with high professionals. So this thing is not really a rocket science. It is something that if you do it the way you are supposed to do it, if you do it according to the standard, you will not have issue. And when we talk about the number of projects that we have done, most of our projects, I can say that 80-90% of our projects are mid-rise buildings. We are talking about 3-story building, 4-story building, 5-story buildings. So it's not that because it's just a bungalow or because it's just a story building, you are lucky that you are not having issues. All right. Some of the common issues that happen with mid-rise buildings are maybe the building tilting or the building sinking or major structural cracks. We have never experienced such in our company so far because we follow all the procedures that we are supposed to follow.
That's a
Okay.
very big
Now,
plus.
you said?
I said that's a very big plus to realistic properties because it's not everybody that wants to follow due process. Everybody just wants to be a contractor.
Okay. Let me make a correction. It's not realistic properties, it's realistic projects.
Realistic project.
Okay. Now, going back to how these errors occurs or the common errors. Errors start from the design stage. All right.
Okay.
Designing properly. Sometimes, let me break down the design now. We have architectural design. Now, you designing, you have to make arrangements of the spaces to be useful properly. Building can be good, building can be structurally sound, and the space arrangement is not convenient for the users. There is an error already. There's a construction mistakes. I've seen a case whereby a client reached out to me that they have to a building that somebody built for that client. He wants to use it for his personal use, but the building is not properly arranged. So in the space of 3 years, he's already tired of that building. So what did he do? He needs to build another one. We converted the initial one that he was using for himself to a rental apartment that he rented out. So you can say, what if it's somebody that cannot afford to build another one again, right? So it starts from there. Now, when we are talking about the architectural design, what about the structural design? Some people, once they are done with the architectural design, they hands up, they go to site and build. No, you should not joke with your structural design. So make sure that all the structural arrangements in the building and details is properly done. So if your architectural drawing is properly designed to fit the usage you want it for, your structural design is also properly done, then you have what's it called, your mechanical and electrical. Now, this aspect too, some people, they stop at architectural design, they go to sites. It's very bad. Some people, they move ahead to architectural structural. That one too is not good enough, right? Now, you need to have your electrical and mechanical design. The electrical design talks about the wiring, the fittings of your building. Your building to be properly, arranged in terms of electrical and all that. It's not even nowadays that we now have not only the normal lightings that we have, now that solar is everywhere, your building have to be properly arranged in terms of electrical works, right? So that you know how spark, no matter how strong a building is, fire can bring it down.
Wow.
No matter how strong your building is, right? Fire can take it down in 24 hours. So if you are now taking that kind of thing with a joke, you should not even joke with it. So having a proper electrical design is very important so that your building can be safe from fire and other things, right? Now, going to mechanical design, that one too is very important. No matter how strong your building is, no matter how properly built it is, if your building is not watertight, if the plumbing work is not done properly, if all these things are not done properly, you are going to have issue. Number one is going to inconvenience you in the building. You'll be having series of dampness in the building, spoiling your clothes, causing sickness. You know, if there is dampness in the building, you are going to fall sick too in the building. You can imagine that. Yes. So, and it's going to also reduce the lifespan of your building. So a building that is supposed to use 80, 100 years, within 10 years, 15 years, you are doing series of renovation, the wall are peeling down, the suspended slabs are falling. Can you imagine? So, and construction is something that costs hundreds of millions. It's not something that we should be compromising on all these things, right? It's not something that you should build. You can have a car and have the mindset of in the next 10 years I'm disposing it. Building is not something you have the mind of disposing in the next 50 years. So why is it not done properly? And what are people running from? Some token. You want to do a project that will cost you hundreds of millions, right? And some tokens of millions, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, that you are going to pay professionals to do all these designs, all these tests. Some people want to build 3-story building and they don't want to do a soil test that is going to cost less than 1 million, average of 500,000. And that soil test is going to determine the building that you're going to spend 200, 300 million on. Is going to determine if it can stand or not. Imagine, less than 1 million to safeguard something that will cost you over 200, 300, 500 million. So, what are we talking about?
Talking about that soil test, like I was about to ask. Now,
Okay.
when you want to do soil test, is it going to be like loamy soil, clay soil, sandy soil kind of thing? That they not take it to the lab, and then when they get to the lab, they're going to do like testing which one can absorb water, which one cannot absorb water, which one can take so much dryness, which one needs to be sand filled, because I've heard about buildings, I've heard about constructions that you have to like sand fill the place because it's a dampy area. So let me start from the soil test first, and then we'll go back to the dampness on the wall, because I personally I have issues with my landlord on that.
Okay. So, talking about, you started from soil test, right?
Yes.
Okay. There's a lot around that. And when we are talking about loamy soils, the soil, with the one that are at the upper level, with the surface layer of the soil, and we have the deeper layers, right? Now, I'll give you an example. A floor, when you're in a building, within that tile level, that floor level, and the ceiling, you have an average of 3 meters, right?
Yeah.
Before you can get a bearing, a good strata, a good bearing soil can carry your building, you can up to 30 meters. So that's talking about that floor that you are inside, that height of floor that you are inside. You are talking about times 10 of it. So that's the depth you are going inside the ground. So there are hundreds of soil layers deep down. Right? So doing that test will help you know that, okay, this can carry the depth that can carry my building. And sometimes people will just feel like, okay, this place is weak and I'm building a story or 4-story building. I'm just going for pile. Sometimes you even do that soil test, it's going to give you an option of using that, which is cheaper than the pile. So doing proper design is not only to give you the durability or stability that you need, it's even save you. Sometimes design will say the size of columns that we need in this place is just 2 to 5 by 5. right? But some people will do the design, they will just go for 25 by 600, 225 by 450, just because they are working with idea. So it's even going to make them, see more rather than seeing and even getting the structural stability that they need. So going back to the soil test that you said, is the beginning test is the beginning of the stability of your building. There are buildings as low as bungalow that will sink. There are buildings as low as bungalow that will tilt, not to talk of 1 story, 2 story, than that. All right? That one like that. Also, soil test be the beginning of the stability of your building, like I was saying. The things help you to quickly know if the project you can even embark on, so that you not go and fall into breaking at the middle of the project. Let me give you an example. There's a case whereby a client wants to build and he doesn't take, and we are called to attend to the client. Please, 1 minute. I've been struggling to charge this phone. It's getting low. So I want to bring the extension closer.
All right.
Let's try that. Okay, it's stable now. Okay, can we continue?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so like I was saying, so the client wants to build, and I went to inspect, and I said, okay, before we can embark on this project, we need to do the soil test of the building. And doing the soil test, we see that the depth that the building, the foundation is going to require, the depth that the pile foundation that is required going to get to is so much as 25 meters, right? Now, after looking at the cost of what that foundation is going to take, that is consuming the entire cost of that project already. See, when we are talking about construction mistakes and all that, let me tell you, one truth is that the number one thing that lets people end up compromising and all that, one of the number one reasons is the cost. Somebody that don't want to get a construction company or professionals that want to build, number one thing that they are running from is that it's going to, their cost will be expensive for. So it's about cost. So when we discovered what the foundation of the building is going to require and is consuming the entire cost. Let me give you an example. Maybe the client plans to spend 150 million on that project, and foundation is already going to consume over 100 million. You see that there's an issue. So when we did the test and we did the structural design and cost what the foundation only is going to take, and he sees that, he said, no, I cannot go on this project. He sold the land, right, and moved to where he can get something that he can build. You see that one is safe for him. Then now he will spend over 100 million and his money is still in the foundation. Then issue will start coming up. He will start fighting his contractor, his business that he's spending the money from. There will be issues on it. So I'm using that to give you the importance of doing a soil test. Yeah.
Okay. So could it also mean that, from our first question, I asked about someone who has 20 million, like the budget is 20 million, and then at the end of the year, you're already going towards 35 million. Could it also be that part of what you just mentioned now, where part of the things the contractor eventually started experiencing, that now led to like an inflation of what they needed money for?
Yes, it can be. It can be. And that is why any contractor have to give their clients clarity, right? If your clients cannot afford it, you have to let them know that this is the cost. They will let you know if yes, some clients can be gatekeeping their information, but you no matter how you want to gatekeep, your clients have told you that this is what I want to build. You will determine your cost. It's not the client that wants to determine cost for you. You are the one that wants to determine the cost of what the client wants to build.
Okay.
So if you now show the
client
client,
determine the cost, it is the contractor that will determine the cost of what the clients will.
Yes, maybe that's a quote. Maybe you quote me for that one.
Honestly,
You are allowed. Yes. You tell me what you want, I tell you what it's going to cost. So you can now compare, negotiate, and all that, but it's still the person that will build that will determine the cost. It's not the client that will determine the cost.
Okay. So in a situation where you have like a very stubborn client that wants to determine the cost, what do? Do you just let them go, or you still try to renegotiate with them?
Yes, as somebody that wants to get job too, you try to persuade them, you don't just let them go. You try to let them know the reason. They will determine if they want to go by themselves. And if they go, they might come back, or they will go and chop cane and come back.
So let's go back to the dampness, like water coming out and moist coming out from the wall. So when I was in the university, my apartment in school, let me not catch that landlord because they catch me. So we went home for COVID and I didn't turn off my water behind. So I know that COVID is like a year. When I came back, I thought I was entering inside the forest because grasses were already on my window. I'm like, I don't understand. Where is this coming out from? So someone else says when they are building, they have to use nylon inside the wall. I'm like, nylon one? What is nylon doing inside the wall again? So I don't know if you can run us through these ideas. And you also mentioned that there's sometimes when the dampness on the wall happens, it makes people sick. So at this point, it's not be everything the malaria again because there are so many things that will just happen to you, and we can't trace it to the fact that it's because your wall is damp and is moist. To the point that when you put your textbooks, and I put my textbooks inside my wardrobe, like they get very bad, they get wet, they start having black stains and all of it. What are the causes of this kind of? Because me, at this point, I'll call it misconstruction. Because if they constructed that well, I don't have reason why I will put my textbooks inside my wardrobe and I'm coming out with a wet textbook.
Okay, thank you. Dampness is a lot, in fact, is a science on its own in building.
Wow.
Yes, building leakage, wall wet and all that is an entire scope in part of a building, right? In fact, we can say that in a building project, waterproofing the building is something that must be well prepared for and even designed for from the design stage of the building, right? There are some areas that you don't need to consider all this. You just build normally and you are fine. But many areas, especially in Lagos, I would say 90% in Lagos, right? You have to make sure that you prepare your foundation for water, right? Then the foundation, the walls, if you follow up on some of the updates on our project, we waterproof the building from the foundation. There are many chemicals that we use to make sure that the foundation is properly waterproofed so that water will not rise from the foundation, because the foundation of your building is entirely inside the ground. There's water movement in the ground.
Okay.
Yes, waters are moving from one location to the other inside the ground. So in the process of moving, anything that, that there's evaporation. I don't want to go too much into science now. No matter where water is, they move. And when there is heat, anything eating it up, it wants to evaporate up. So that is why anything obstructing them in their process of movement, or the water table. Water table is the level of water inside the ground, right? So most times your foundation gets to the water table of that location, of that land. So water is always there. They are always together. So in the process of, if there is any way that water can go into the concrete, into the foundation, and even in cases whereby you even use a block foundation, you are going to experience that issue. In fact, if you use block for your foundation, in a waterlogged area, there is nothing you want to use to solve the dampness.
Wow.
You will only be maintaining it. You cannot solve it. You will experience it. So if it's a location that, okay, your there is dampness, there is water in that area, even if you want to build a bungalow, don't bother using a block foundation at all. Because no matter what you use, the water, the block will soak the water properly and it will take it up. In the process of taking it up, you start experiencing dampness and all that in your building. Right? Now, that is the aspect of the foundation. Now, going back to from your foundation upward, from your DPC level that you call German floor, no matter what you do in your foundation also, you need to waterproof, use damp-proof membrane, damp-proof cores, and all that. All these things I'm mentioning are some materials that we use within our blocks to make sure that, okay, and also the mix ratio of your block, the composition of your block also matters, right? If you are in a place whereby a place that is prone to water, you use more of a concrete block. The stronger your block is, the stronger your concrete is, the lesser for it to absorb water. So with that, applying any other waterproofing chemical and all that will make it work better. Will be like additional support. The truth is that waterproofing your building is an additional support to your building. Your building is supposed to be strong enough to resist water itself.
Yes.
But because there are places that are prone to more issues like that, you make it, you try to reinforce it. So waterproofing is like reinforcing the building against water penetration. So doing that, you make sure that your wall is properly protected. How do you protect it? Proper DPC, DPM materials in laying the blocks, right? Using a good block, a concrete block, a sand, there is properly stone dusted block, something like that. Then doing that, what are you using for the finishing? Also, you want to plaster your wall, making sure that you use a proper plastering mixing ratio. That one tool is there. When you want to paint, you make sure that you use a good quality paint that can water shield. Remember that when you look at paint is supposed to, aside the beauty of paint have a lot of things to do after beauty. Aside the beauty of paint have a lot to do after beauty. So aside the beauty that your paint want to do for you, your paint must be able to resist water penetration. So if you look at the list of things I mentioned before getting to the building wall itself, I've mentioned about 3 layers of things. So if all those things are done properly, you are doing like 2-3 factor protection for your building. So if all those things are done properly, you are not going to experience dampness. Now, going back to the another strong one that will cause dampness in your building is the plumbing work.
Okay.
Yeah, so after doing your foundation properly, that your plumbing work is very important. No matter what you try to use to water shield or anything, if your plumbing work is bad, you are going to have a problem. Right? So that's where when I said mechanical design is very important. Now, saying mechanical design, following the design, making sure that your artisans do things rightly, practically, is also important. Now, those are the things around dampness. Another thing, dampness does not also come from only from the ground. When you're talking about the foundation, it also comes from the top of your building. That's your roof. Your roof, your roof has to be properly prepared. If you are having a leaking roof, you are going to be having a damp building.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes. So having roofing is another good aspect. As important as your foundation is, the head of your building, right, that covers your building against all forms of weathering, weather reaction and all that, weather action, weather attack is also important, right? That somebody said rain, yes, that protects your building from rain is also important, right? So having a proper roof. Now, when we are now talking about that roof that I get to protect your building from dampness, leakage, and all that, hidden roof is common in Lagos, especially.
Yes.
Now, people have seen shege on hidden roof. Now, let me now say something that you need to note.
Okay.
One of the things that is common that people say about hidden roof from start is that it's cheaper to do. Okay, now this is what I'm saying. You don't do hidden roof because you want to save costs. The normal e-proof that is conventional that people use more before now, yes, people start switching from that type of roof to hidden roof because they want to save cost. Meanwhile, using hidden roof, flat roof, mono-pitch roof, all these things that I mentioned still means a low-pitch roof, a roof that is not hipped, should not be done because you want to save costs. In fact, you are going to spend more if you want to do it the right way. Okay. Right? So, if you do it the right way, you will not experience leakage. You will not experience one drop. So, there's a lot of things around doing your roof properly too. So, to save time, let's take it short that way. Let me just drop the points again. Treat your foundation properly.
Okay.
Treat your plumbing properly. 2, treat your wall. Protect your walls properly. The 4th one, protect your roof. Do your roof properly. I think that's 4. There are many other things, but those are the ones that I think are common that I remember now.
Okay. Now, from the course of our conversation the previous time, you mentioned 4 kind of designs that I was able to pick out: the architectural design, the structural design, the electrical design, and the mechanical design. Now, I'm going to be explaining some things, some abnormalities that I have seen, and then we can classify it under each design. Now, tell me why I am about to enter inside a building, and I have to first go behind the door before I can access inside the building. Like, why is the door at the wrong side? Is it from the architectural design, or from the structural design, or it cannot be electrical, it cannot be mechanical? But why is it like that? The positioning of the door is so awkward.
You said you want to enter the building.
Like you want to enter into an apartment, and then you have to first go behind the door so that the door can open very well. Then you now close the door. You know those kind of doors now.
That's a design error.
Okay.
That's a design error.
What about poor lighting? There was a particular building that I have entered, and it feels like no matter how much bulb you buy, like whether they are bright or not, it feels maybe it's the paint that sucks in the lighting, or I don't even understand. Everywhere just still seems dull. So I don't know.
That the place is not properly lighted.
Yes, as in no matter how much kind of bulb you buy to lighten the whole place, that particular room, it feels like maybe it's the paint that is swallowing the light. I don't know what's the cause of that, and what kind of design is it under?
Okay. During the course of this conversation, I remember some things that I've explained to my clients so many times. When we say design, people that are outside of this profession feels we are talking about only beauty. Design in our own terms is not only the beauty, it's about the arrangement. For example, now if structural engineer says he's designing, don't think he's decorating. No.
Okay.
No. Design in our own terms, I would say, in the simplest way, calculation. Even the architects.
So, doesn't mean that somebody that is on the mathematics cannot do this thing?
You may not too. So even when architect says the beauty part of what an architect is designing the building, let me say, is 30%. The remaining 70 is about calculating the arrangements. What is enough for this bedroom? And if this bedroom is at this position, what is happening to the other side? Now, I want to use that aspect of design to answer your question again. Now, in the process of that, doing the design, doing the forms, the calculation, arrangement of the building, we look at lighting, ventilation in the arrangement of each spaces. So if there's a space, maybe a living room, right? We look at where are we going to get lighting. Do you know that we even calculate the weather? That where are we getting sunrise from the building? So if we are getting sunrise early from one side, it will determine where we are going to position the building, the bedroom or the living room in that building. That one tool is there so that you can get your lighting fast. And also in terms of ventilation, where should we locate this building, this window in this room? What size of windows should we have, and what position should we have it? Right? So all those things are part of what we call design. In the kind of paint that you are going to have in your room is also a design. There are some colors that if you have it in your bedroom, you will not sleep early. You will be having trauma to sleep. Yes.
Okay, I think this is where I need to listen very well because I'm not a quick sleeper.
There are some colors you don't use it in an office space. When you use that color in an office space, it can let people start feeling sleepy early.
Wow.
Yes. Meanwhile, if you use the right color, they will feel sharp if they don't have any personal illness or anything. So even colors in spaces have a psychological effect.
Wow. Wow.
Right? So when it's part of the things that people don't understand about when we say that you have to do all your designs properly before starting your building. If you read an architectural design properly, you'll see a place whereby the architect will specify the kind of tiles that should be there. They will specify the kind of window that should be in this place. They will specify the kind, even to the level of paint, they will specify it's going to be written there. So people just feel like when they are talking about design, is it not just to have bedroom? I know where my bedroom will be now. I know where my toilet will be. There are many things more than that. So those are the things people are missing, and that is costing them construction errors. Imagine building a whole building that you want to sleep or for investment, and people are not you are not enjoying to sleep in the place or to use the place, and you end up, selling the building to build another one. What if you don't have that opportunity again?
Wow. I think the one that has me more has to be the color part. Well, does it not mean that it's because of the psychological effect? Anywhere I enter, everybody's painting their house white. Does it mean that white is like one of the most coolest colors that will help you psychologically to like relax and calm down?
Yes, white works for everything. And white is like, it works for everything. If you use white and you are in your bedroom, for example, if you change the color of your bedroom to a warm color, it automatically gives you the warmness and the calmness you want straight up. White will not battle with any effects that you want your space to give you. So that is why white, but there are many colors that you can play with that will give you more effects.
I've really learned so much from this.
There's something we didn't talk about. We are talking about dampness can cause you sickness. Yes, very well. Very well. Very well.
I think I've had a case of someone saying they went to the hospital and then the question they asked him was, your toilet, does it have this moist and all those spirogyra things? They said yes, and it gave him an ear infection. Wow.
We human, we are allergic to many things. Only if you get people that they have allergy to things like this. When you are feeling dampness in a home, what you are feeling is bacteria already flowing in the air.
Wow.
Yeah, so people that have allergy to things like this, they will quickly react. It's only people that are very strong. But being strong, it doesn't mean that you are strong. The thing is just piling up in your body system. So it will show up anytime. So that's why you don't joke with dampness in the building.
Wow. Wow.
Now,
Dampness.
there is an aspect we have spoken about, some common areas that we have spoken about. There is also an aspect that we need to talk about in building is the building collapse.
Okay.
Building collapse is purely a structural failure. All these things that I've been mentioning, I'm just mentioning the ones that are really, really relatable to people, right? That they experience. And that is also important. Now, when we are talking about building collapse, it's purely a structural. All these things that we are talking about, that we have been saying now, they are a bit manageable. They are a bit repairable, right? But structural failure is structural failure. You should avoid it to the core. So that is
Those are
why
some of
your
the things that structural design, those are some of the things that we should like avoid. Is it
is to make
the
sure now is to make sure, if I want to go into details with you, because it's not your field and our audience, they are going to have issue. And what should you do? Make sure you are using the right team, a right person for your structural design, and make sure you are using a right contractor, be it a civil engineer, a builder, or anybody in the build environment that is a professional. Make sure they have the experience to implement. There's having the right design, and there's implementing it properly. So that one is not negotiable. Don't say you want to build the house yourself. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I've really learned so much from this live session. I mean, we learned from architectural design, we learned from structural design, and from the architectural design, wrong positioning. That's why you want to come from staircase, your head will be hitting the upper part of the staircase. You want to build a particular toilet, you can touch the ceiling of the toilet. Those are some of the architectural designs that are very, very wrong. Now, we've also learned from structural design, we've learned from electrical and mechanical design. I mean, the electrical design is something I can relate to. It when I was a little child. I want to turn up the fridge. They'll tell you, wear slippers, so wear you did not wear slippers or your. So all those kind of things are part of common mistakes that happens when building houses. Thank you so much for this live session. And another thing I learned is from the color. Colors have psychological effects. Now, the colors can either help you sleep or help you not to sleep. So they have psychological effects. Then also, when people are talking about design, it's not just the beauty of the house, according to what Mr. Giwa said. He said it's not about just the beauty of the house. It comes with a whole lot of calculation. They're calculating the sunlight, they're calculating the weather, they're calculating that. Honestly, I think my respect for architects, for structural engineers, for electrical engineers and mechanical
Quantity
engineers,
surveyors.
quantity surveyors. See, honestly, I think my respect for these professionals just doubled today. Because what do you mean by I'm calculating sunlight? What's my business with this sunlight? Thank you so much. This was actually a very eye-opening conversation, and I think the biggest takeaway is that building is not just about having money; it's about having the right knowledge and guidance. Because you can have the money and then you can still fail at it. Because one small mistake can turn into millions lost, time wasted, and resources. And from this live session, if you have questions, you can send a DM to the WhatsApp number. You can send a DM to Realistic Project Limited too. And so if you're planning to build, let this conversation guide you to do the right thing. And you know the right thing is actually hiring Realistic Projects to handle all of your amazing projects. I mean, 30 plus projects is an amazing track record already. So just hire Realistic Project and have your peace of mind intact. It's not that you come and collect budget then tomorrow something. No. We don't do that here. So I think you should send Realistic project a DM today and find a lasting solution to all of your problems. Let them handle every need of your project. Till I come your way again. To everyone that joined the live session today, I have from Okoroji Perpetual, I have Princess Smiles, and I have Danny Sholanke. Thank you so much for joining the live session. And for the last live session that we had, it was not a debate, but it's something people debate about. It's either you build or you buy. Which one would you prefer? It's live on our YouTube link. Just go to the YouTube and check for Realistic Project Limited. So I come your way again. I remain Favor Oro and live here with Mr. Adebayo Dua, the Managing Director of Realistic Project Limited. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you so much. I appreciate you a lot.
Thank you.